What's up, Yellowhammer Nation? Welcome back to Yellowhammer Radio, Superstation 101 WYDE, 1260 AM, 95.3 FM. You can tweet the program at YHN Radio. Your phone calls as well, 866-551-9933. Joining us in studio right now is Troy football head coach Neal Brown. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, Coach, it's a pleasure having you here. Andrea is a huge football fan. We're going to let her conduct the interview.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm going to just lead it right out saying.
Hey, that might be the most fun. That might be the most fun interview then.
Maybe, I don't know. I like your shirt, the burgundy color. If that's the Troy's colors, then I'm all in. It's a beautiful color.
Hey, if we're going by wins, by what color we have this cardinal, a lead, which is a deep, kind of a gray, dark gray, and white. So you can't go wrong with our colors. Winning colors for sure.
I'm all in. You got my thumbs up.
One of the things I was flipping through the news, reading the headlines like I do a couple of weeks ago, and Yellowhammer actually had an article, and I saw it on other sites as well, that there are two teams from the state of Alabama that are predicted in the top 25 of college football defenses this year, and that's you guys at Troy.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Man, it's really. I think it speaks to what we've done. Our defensive coordinator, Vic Koenig, he's got a long history of playing defense at a really high level. He was a defense coordinator at North Carolina, at Clemson, Kansas State, Illinois. He's been a Division I head coach. So he was a defense coordinator at Troy back in the early 2000s and had a guy by the name of DeMarcus Ware. So he knows what he's doing. We had the biggest turnaround defensively in the country 2 years ago. We were one of the top turnover creators last year in the country. So I think it speaks well. We've got some holes to fill on that side, but anytime you see a top 25 and you see Troy in it, that's something to be excited about.
That's awesome. I wanted to ask you about Brandon Silvers as well, who was first team all-conference last year. What does he bring to the table for this team?
Well, he's going to be a 4-year starter, and he's a big-time player. He's an NFL prospect. I really think he's one of the top 5 or 7 quarterbacks in his senior class. If things go well, if he plays at the level he did last year where he was an all-conference quarterback, I really think he'll end his career back in his home area. He's from Gulf Shores, and my hope is that, and I think he will, is he'll play in the Senior Bowl there in January. So he's a really high-level quarterback. He's accurate, can make all the throws. He's 6'3", 225 pounds. So he's a guy that has all the tools. He's played at a high level, and I think he'll continue to do that.
Also in studio with us is B.J. Ellis, CEO of Yellowhammer, former basketball coach. And I know, Coach, you want to ask a question. I know you're dying to jump at the microphone right now.
I'll say this. Anytime we got a ball coach in here, I'm coming to hang out with you guys, bar none. We do it every day. I'm in here every day with you guys. But what they are doing at Troy is unbelievable. Yeah. I mean, all their sports, and we don't have to go into all that, but they had an unbelievable year. But I want to talk about how a team like Troy State gets into the top 25 in the country with all the resources and stuff that's going on and recruiting. Like, that is amazing to me that you got them boys top 25. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, I think it's a cumulative effect. First of all, we've got some really good players. We just had a third-round draft pick in Antonio Garcia, an offensive lineman for us. But then what happened is we go play at Clemson, the eventual national champion, and we take Clemson to the wire. And we were better than Clemson was that day. I'm not saying our program's better. I'm not saying our team last year was better. But on that given Saturday, we were better. And one call away, there was a 14-point swing where Clemson's going in. They fumble the ball. We pick it up. We're running clear into the end zone, and we're going to take the lead. And they call not only they call it an inadvertent whistle, but they give them a touchdown, and all of a sudden it's a 14-point swing. We still only lose the game by 6. So then we rattled off 7 straight wins after that. And in our league, the Sun Belt Conference is getting so much better. You know, if you look at what our league did last year in the 5, what's known as the Group of 5, the Sun Belt finished 3rd, just below the Mountain West. I mean, a few points just below the Mountain West, but a team that finished in the middle of our conference beat the conference champion of the Mountain West. So that's why we open up with Boise State this year at Boise. That's a huge game for us. You know, I think that's the premier team in the Group of 5, and if we want to be the best, we got to beat them. But that top 25 ranking was huge, and it made us hungry to get back there again.
Yeah, I'm sure it did. And I'm go way back with the athletic director at Troy State, and we could sit here and talk about leadership from what he brings to the table, what Coach brings to the table, because everything hinges and falls on leadership. But I can remember being in my living room when you guys were playing Clemson, and I was going bananas when y'all were running the touchdown. And I thought, they're going to beat Clemson at Clemson. I can't believe this. They're so much better than Auburn. You guys can call in and talk about it if you want to. But it was just like, I mean, to start the year off and then see what you did, I have the utmost respect for what's going on down there. It's great university, unbelievable athletic department. So I'm happy to have him in. I mean, there's so much that you can learn, or we can learn from this guy as a coach, because I made a joke when he came in that I would vote for him for governor. Coaches can do everything. I mean, managing, planning, budgeting, I mean, there's nothing. So I'm so pumped about the time that we get to spend with Coach right now.
Absolutely. Our guest, for those of you just tuning in, is Troy football head coach Neal Brown. You've got an impressive record as a coach as well. Let's talk for the listeners that don't know about your background. Where are you from? What drives you as a coach?
Well, I'm originally from Kentucky. I'm a product of educators. My dad was a football coach and eventually a principal. His father was a high school football coach and a principal, then a superintendent. My mom was an elementary school librarian. So 3 out of my 4 grandparents were in the education field as well. So I'm a product of educators. From Danville, Kentucky. Went to school at the University of Kentucky. Transferred after 3 years. Finished up at the University of Massachusetts. Was in the Northeast at several different spots until Larry Blakeney, the former head coach at Troy, hired me in 2006. Coached receivers for 2 years, and then I was the offense coordinator at Troy for 2 years. Won 4 conference championships. From there, moved on. Was offense coordinator for Tommy Tuberville at Texas Tech, and then went back home to the University of Kentucky as the offense coordinator for 2 years, and then got the job on December 1st of 2014, and really Troy is a place that I've always been really indebted to. Troy gave me the first opportunity as a Division I assistant coach, as a Division I offensive coordinator, now as a Division I head coach, and my wife Brooke and I are thrilled to be back and really humbled to be in that position, and it's been fun to watch the university grow, and really the football program being the catalyst for the entire athletic department and the entire university.
Awesome. Our guest is Coach Neal Brown with Troy football, the Trojans, Troy Trojan football. We're going to get back, take your questions, 866-551-9933. Coach, you can hang with us one more segment, right?
Yes, I'll be here.
All right, perfect. All right, welcome back, Yellowhammer Nation. We are back. Superstation 101 WYDE, 1260 AM, 95.3 FM. Andrea Tice, Scott Chambers, and our guest from Troy University is head football coach Neal Brown. Appreciate you being here representing the Trojans today, Coach.
Nah, it's been a lot of fun. It's much fun, probably off the air as it's been on the air. So but I appreciate you having me on. This is a good time,
Coach. I keep telling them we've just got to keep the microphones on during the breaks because those are the best conversations right there.
Yeah.
Hey.
No. No, we won't.
They would have to bleep
Dave,
out half the
Dave,
things I
don't
say.
listen to that,
Some
Dave.
of those details, maybe not. I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to shock you all.
Great.
Okay,
Okay.
because it's all about football.
She's Googled.
Is
yes.
It has nothing to do with the details of football or the game. But the fact that you came in, 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years
This
ago
3
to
years
Troy.
ago, yeah.
Okay. And then the AD, the athletic director at Troy, came in just a year after that. That seems to have made a shift in the progress made at this school as far as the athletic program.
It's huge. I was hired by a guy by the name of John Hartwell, who's now the athletic director at Utah State, and he did a really good job at Troy, and he came from Ole Miss, and then there's always an unknown there. John hired me, and like I said, I was hired on December 1st, 2014. He leaves in May of 15 before I ever coached a game.
Sure, yeah.
And then Jeremy takes a job in August, and I knew it was going to be a great fit. I knew Jeremy. We had gotten to know each other during Southern Miss was going through a search a couple years prior to that, and he's a guy that had a great reputation, and we were just really excited about him coming, and he's done a tremendous job. We've got a brand new north end zone facility that we're building, a $25 million plus facility, 60,000 square feet that's going to enclose our stadium. He got that past the finish line, and that's going to be a huge addition to us. If you look at the success we've had, our men's and women's basketball team win conference championship. We win a bowl game. We have 10 wins. We had a golfer finish 23rd in the country. Our women's golf team wins the conference championship. I can go on and on about our baseball team beats Alabama and Auburn in the same season. I mean, you can go on and on about the success we've had. And Troy's a unique place. It's a place that's always won. It's always been successful regardless of the level. And we're fortunate to have Jeremy. And I think it's crucial that in most productive athletic departments, the athletic director and the head football coach, and I say this meaning in the South and the Southeast, is that relationship has to be really strong. And I consider Jeremy not only very, very good at his job, being an athletic director, but he's a great father, and he's a really good friend to myself and my family.
Well, the two of you together, how would you describe that whole management style, so that people listening, whether they're football coaches or not, can at least apply some of the wisdom there?
Well, I think it's open communication. I think the key to any relationship, whether it's my wife and I or whether it's Jeremy, who's technically my boss, I mean, I think any relationship is about communication, and we have open communication. Sometimes he has to communicate things with me that I don't like. Sometimes I have to communicate with things that he doesn't like. But there's mutual respect there. I have a respect for his job. It's a difficult job. I don't want the job of an athletic director. He probably, quite frankly, doesn't want the job of a head football coach. So, so I think it's all about communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me jump in here. I want to dig into your past a little bit. At what point, because I was a college basketball coach for 11 years, the listeners know that, at what point did you know, surely it was before Clemson, but did you know that this is what God created me to be? Yeah,
so that's a really good story, and you can cut me off in this if you need to, but basically I graduated with a business degree, a business administration degree from UMass. I moved back to Kentucky to play on an Arena League football team. And really, I knew I wasn't going to be a professional football player, but I was trying to put off being in the real world. And I went and sold advertising during the day and played Arena League football at night. And I real quickly knew that I did not want to do that. I did not want to sell advertising. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And right before we were playing in the semifinals of this Arena League team that I was playing, and my head football coach at UMass calls. And it was literally 10 or 15 minutes before we were going out on the field to play. And he says, Neal, he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm actually getting ready to play in the Arena League playoff game. He goes, well, whenever you want to grow up, I got a graduate assistant's job that I want you to take. So we ended up getting beat in Wheeling, West Virginia. We had a long bus ride back to Lexington, where I was living at the time. And my wife, she's my wife now, she's my girlfriend at the time, and I thought about it the whole way, and I was like, man, I need to go back. And if nothing else, I'll see if this coaching interests me. If nothing else, I'll get my MBA.
Right.
So long story short, I did this for about 2 months. I knew this is what I wanted to do. Fortunately, was able to finish my MBA, but then I got some lucky breaks along the way in this coaching deal. The head coaching piece, there's some really good things about being a head coach. There's some negatives too. The really good the negatives are obviously you're pulling a lot of different directions. You're not doing as much X's and O's. The really good things about being a head coach are you're able to hire people that you want to be around, and you're able to control your calendar. And I have a 9, a 6, and a 2-year-old, and that's crucial. The other thing too is you can, whatever your vision, you're able to create the culture that you want to deal with on a day in and day out basis. And where it was real clear within the first couple months that this wasn't about just changing offenses or changing defenses. We had to change a culture not only within the football program, within the whole athletic department, and we've been fortunate to do that. And it really centered around one thing: is we came up with a mission. Our mission was going to be to serve and develop total Trojans, and those total Trojans are guys that are men. What we say are men of Troy, who earn their degree, who earn football championships, earn the respect of the campus community. So everything we do. All right. You can ask any of our assistant coaches, any of our players, if they come and they want to do something, they have an idea, I'll say, hey, how's it going to serve our players? How's it going to develop our players? If it does, then I'm in. If it doesn't, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing you say as you're describing this is that culture is the critical platform on which you're building this program. It has nothing to do with, like you said, X's and O's so much as this undergirding of culture. What would be some key elements that you would put under that banner of culture?
Well, I think if you're doing it, here's what I always say: if you're building a culture, I think first of all you have to come up with a mission statement, and you got to come up with a vision, and I think your vision has to be out there a little bit. There's a great book by Mark Batterson, In a Pit with a Lion on a Snowy Day, and it's about Benaiah, and I checked the book out. It's great, and it's about going after God-sized dreams and not having dreams unless they're God-sized. And and your vision should be like that. Your vision should be reached. Our vision there's a lot of it to it, but in essence, it talks about the vision for the program being sold out stadiums, national TV broadcasts, playing in one of the New Year's Six bowl games. That should be out there where people should, you should be able to see it with your own eyes. But for the outsiders, they should look at it and say, that's a little out there. So you got to have a mission. You got to have a vision. Your vision's really where you want to go. Then you got to have a set of core values and a belief system that's at the base. And then I think it's about creating an environment that your employees or your student athletes that want to come. And then you got to come up with some strategies to get there. And I think that's what culture is. And I think your culture always has to change regardless. We're in a different spot now than we were 3 years ago. We're at a point where we have expectations. We're expected to win now. We just had the biggest turnaround in college football. So the culture's got to move with that, and we've adopted this theme that we're going to run to the roar now. And I don't think you'd avoid expectations. You got to run to those and meet them head on.
Was there any one experience in your past 3 years at Troy that you felt like, okay, something happened on the field or in the I almost said dugout, and I'm sorry. I'm so
Different
sorry.
sport, but it's okay. We'll forgive you.
In the locker room, is there any point in the course of these 3 years with your players that you felt like, okay, I did it. I see a change. I see a shift. The culture. This is proof.
The light bulb moment,
culture
so to
has
speak.
shifted in the direction I want it to go.
Well, I'll give you a really good example. And it happened. I think these things always happen before you see success on the field. So in year one, we went 4-8, and we lost 4 games by 6 points or less. And we had a home game versus Louisiana Monroe. They were struggling at the time. We were struggling at the time. Our initial schedule my first year was brutal. We played Mississippi State on the road. We played NC State on the road. We played Wisconsin on the road. So we played 2 top 15 programs on the road, and NC State was a bowl team. And we played those on the road, and our kids were really beat up. And then we do different themes within our game weeks. And the theme for that Monroe week was a dedication game. So basically, you could dedicate that game to anybody that you thought was worthy of you playing for. And we went out in a game that really didn't have a whole lot at stake, a game that it had been easily to cash in and not show up. But our guys really came out, and we played extremely well. We won. We scored over 50 points. I think we went 52 to 14, something like that. I could be off by a point or two. And at that point, I said I knew our guys were bought in, because that's where your worry is you lose initially. You have all this excitement building up for your first season. And then even though you're not very good, you don't want to slow down the momentum. You don't want to slow it down, even though I knew we weren't going to have a great football team my first year. But to see after those early season defeats, the one to Mississippi State was we were competitive against Wisconsin. We were competitive against NC State. We were not competitive in year one versus Mississippi State. But to see our guys stay dialed in and stay bought in, I knew we had a chance. And then we had a game this year at Southern Miss where our game got delayed for about an hour and a half, and our guys never lost focus. It didn't bother them. Because that's one of the fundamental aspects of our program is, hey, don't get phased, don't blink.
Yeah.
And we didn't. We came out and beat a quality opponent on the road.
So you didn't see them lose heart when it would be likely that they could.
No, exactly.
All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Coach, a caller wants to ask a question. I know you've got to run, but I'd have time for one quick call from Roger here. You're on Yellowhammer Radio. Coach Neal Brown.
Hey, Neal, it's Roger from Bergen, Kentucky. How you doing?
Roger from Bergen, Kentucky. Hey, that's really close to God's country in Danville.
I'm telling you. Hey, you're doing an awesome job down at Troy and everything. I'm up here in Huntsville now and happen to be the captain of the Huntsville Quarterback Club. And we'll try and get in touch with you and hopefully maybe get you up there next year. But I just wanted to call in and let you know that you got a little bluegrass behind you. And you guys are doing a great job down there at Troy and looking for the season coming up.
Well, I appreciate you calling in. And I'm from like I said, I'm from Danville, and Bergen's just down the road, right on the Lake Harrington, and I'm heading back to Danville on Sunday, so I'm excited about that trip. And Huntsville has been a great area for us. We've signed one of our coaches, John Summerall's from Huntsville, went to Grissom there, and he signed several prospects over the last 3 years from the area.
Coach, I know you've got to get out of here, but before you go, I want to ask you this quick question to get a coach's opinion on it. You know, they've changed up from National Signing Day to the early college signing period. What are your thoughts on that?
I really think it's much ado about nothing. Honestly, it's you're talking about a 6-week change.
Yeah.
You know, I think the recruiting calendar really became outdated. Recruiting has changed so much, and the calendar has not changed at all. I see a lot of the resistance you get from coaches. Coaches don't like change. I'm not sure males like change, period.
Right.
But they don't like change.
Women don't.
And you know, it's going to be different. I don't think you'll see the signs till next year. Because that's when the early official visits can start in the spring of their junior year. But I think it's inevitable. It was going to happen. I think it's probably a compromise.
Mm-hmm.
The student athletes want to do it in the summer. The coaches didn't want to have it at all. We met in the middle with the December signing date.
I think it makes our National Signing Day holiday that I like to. It's like a holiday,
Yeah.
time to get chips and wings and watch this thing go down. But
Yeah, I'm for not having a signing day at all. If you offer them a scholarship and they want to sign with you on that day you offer it, then sign
agree
up
more.
and let's go.
Couldn't agree
Let's
more.
take the pomp and circumstance out of it.
Coach Neal Brown, Troy University, home of the Trojans. We appreciate you being with us here on Yellowhammer Radio.
Guys, I really appreciate it. We're right here this is one of our Troy affiliates.
That's right. Absolutely. It's over on, is it 1260 a.m., Dave?
Yes.
Yeah, over on 1260 a.m. So, all right, Neal Brown, thanks for being with us today, Coach. We appreciate it. We're back right after this.